Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Hiking in History. Today we are in the middle of Staffordshire's countryside, so I'm not far from home. Today we are walking a disused railway line, the Cheadle Branch it's called. So this goes from Blythe Bridge to Cheadle. It's like an old historic railway line that's no longer used. We're currently on it, so it would literally go right through here. It goes a bit further that way as well, but it's private land down there I think, so it just literally ends like right there anyway. The actual train line is just sort of down there somewhere, that goes all the way from, connects Stoke to Derby and all that. But there used to be a train line that went to Cheadle as well, and Cheadle's a nice little place. So I've heard about this track. Doesn't seem like anyone really uses or knows about anymore, given benches are all overgrown and stuff like that. It's not really on many maps, and it's a bit kind of in the middle of nowhere, and difficult to get to with public transport. You just have to go to Blythe Bridge and then come all the way here, but we're going to walk it anyway. I had a free day. I thought the weather was going to be a bit better than this, but oh well. But yeah, we're going to see what it's like and kind of discover a bit of the history, or talk a bit about the history about this actual train line. It was beset with problems and all that kind of stuff, so that's why it's no longer here. I have no idea if there is any like track or anything left, but we're going to find out, because it goes for about 4 miles to Cheadle. So without further ado, let's get going. You can already see, just as we start, we're kind of like on an embankment, so you can see where obviously this has all been raised, where the trains would go through this way. So we've got a bit of evidence already, even if we don't get any track. But yes, this the Cheadle Branch Railway was in operation as a passenger line from 1892 to 1963, and then it had a little bit longer of a history, just not as a passenger. I'm guessing doing sort of freight and I don't know, coal and things from the mines and stuff around here, up until 1986, when then it closed completely altogether. If you can hear a lot of sort of car noise in the background at the moment, that's because we are right next to the A50. You might be able to just see some cars moving just behind those trees there, and lorries and things like that. Very busy road, so I think soon we will be passing either under it, down here, something like that, and we can actually hopefully get away from it and have some peace and quiet. You can sort of see the road a bit better there. You can already see here some remains of almost like a little bridge. Yeah, it looks like you could probably, farmers and people would walk under this to get through to the land and stuff. So here we are, this is the A50 that we're going to be going under now. I was thinking, because obviously this is quite modern, whether this would have actually been here when the trains were running, but I've just looked up when the A50 was built, and it actually would have still been here. So the A50, this was built in 1984, and as I said before, the train line that went through here stopped completely in 1986. So there was a period of 2 years where this tunnel, this was in use and trains would actually go through here. But so far, no track. So I think I did read somewhere that they did rip it all up relatively recently, possibly in the 90s. You can obviously see here where the actual tracks would have been. But Britain is full of railway lines that are no longer in use now, like in the sort of golden age of steam and all that stuff, through the late 1800s and early 1900s, like the sort of Victorian period and onwards into First and Second World War. Practically like any small town and even like villages would have train stations, and trains would go to them. There's just, you know, all sorts of train lines that you can find that are no longer in use. Bloody hell, what's happened to this tree? Boggles my mind how that happens. Like, how on earth does that happen? As I said, like, yes, even in the in like the Peak District, there's, you know, like around Thor's Cave and all those places, you'll find like there's just train lines that went through there, and like stations that stopped near there. They're all no longer running, mainly I guess through lack of demand, because obviously cars became much more, well, became cheaper and more people got them, so there was just less passenger traffic. But for me, who doesn't drive, I wish some of them were still around, because it would be perfect for me. I'd be on them all the time. I mean, I don't really think I've got to look both ways, to be honest. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of traffic. So I mentioned that it's had a turbulent history, this little branch, this little train line, even though it's like just under 4 miles, so it's not very long. From conception to the reality of it running, it took like 46 years for it to become a full thing, because it was beset with problems. Hopefully we'll talk about that a bit more further ahead, because there might be something where we can see why it was such a problem. But yeah, there were construction issues which meant that part of the line had to be practically entirely rebuilt. But we will see further ahead, because there might be some evidence still left of that. You may wonder why this line was built in the first place. It's a question to ask. Cheadle was quite an important market town. It had a population of 3,000 in like 1850, which is quite a lot really. And at that point they had no railway line at all. Meanwhile though, at the same time, North Staffordshire Railway completed the Stoke to Derby line, which I mentioned earlier. That was completed in 1848, and even the Churnet Valley line was done the following year, so 1849, but both of them missed Cheadle. So the people of the town, you know, population of 3,000, which is quite a lot, along with like the mines around the area, Cheadle coalfield, you know, they obviously wanted a rail connection for transporting goods, and imagine possibly just ease of getting into Stoke and Derby and all these other places. They probably had coaches and things, for sure, but obviously rail was the new fancy way of getting around. And look at this, it's quite a dramatic rock. I wonder if this is natural, or maybe they had to dig some of this out here. Not sure. There's a giant tyre here. Oh, well there we go, there's some evidence of a railway right there. So I can say I've seen some track at least, even if it's stuck in the ground there and not actually lay down, but there you go. Clearly horses, people on horses must ride down here, which must be quite pleasant. Yeah, this part of it, this little section is actually really quite nice. Here you go as well, you can really see some evidence here of, you can imagine it now going through here. Not sure what this would have been. Maybe, I don't know if it was a platform, maybe there was a station here, I'll have to try and look it up. Or maybe there would just be some sort of, I don't know, water tower or storage or something like that. But there you go, so there is still some slight evidence left, even if all the track has been mainly ripped up. It definitely seems like this bit they probably would have had to burrow and carve all this this part out. And there's a little bridge again up ahead, so this bridge must have been built before 1986, I'm guessing. So there are multiple access points as well on this route. I went from the first one that you can get to, but there are a bunch. There's like, this one's probably number 2. I think there's like 4 or 5 ways that you can sort of get on this track, which is kind of handy. This is strange, this giant rock under here. Obviously nothing there, unless I'm guessing. Obviously this rock was here when they built the railway, but then obviously this wasn't, so they just built that on top, I guess. Huh. So obviously the people of Cheadle wanted this train line to be built, but several schemes were proposed over the years, these being the branch line from the Easter Blythe Bridge that would run through Forsbrook and Dillon and then eventually Cheadle, but none of these ever came to fruition. But then finally in 1887 the Cheadle Railway Mineral and Land Corporation was formed, and finally, after a hell of a long time, a branch line leaving the North Staffordshire Railway at Creswell began the next year, so that would have been 1888. But meanwhile, the owners of a nearby colliery, Foxfield Colliery, they got really tired of waiting through all this sort of planning and nonsense, you know, taking years and years and years and years to, you know, plans falling apart, all that kind of stuff. They got tired of all that, and they just built their own. They built their own branch line that went up to their colliery, and that still survives because that's like that goes through all private land now, but it survives as Foxfield Railway, I believe it's called, which you can still go on like little railway trips around there and stuff. I think it's sort of more aimed at like families and kids and stuff now. It's just like a little railway trip that you can go around. I think they do steam and all that kind of stuff. Seems like along here now there's just quite a lot of burrows for animals. I don't know, foxes, badgers, God knows what. There's all sorts of holes and burrows, I think. Seeing tons of them along here. So either side now we have sort of these walls. I'm assuming this is probably what they call a cutting, isn't it? Where they've obviously, because sometimes you have the embankments, but then through here it looks like they've had to cut this out, unless they were very lucky and this was just naturally like this, but I doubt it. I'm guessing they probably had to cut and dig all this out, which even on a small line like this is a pretty big achievement, isn't it? You know, and I know you've got to only do 4 miles, but back then especially, still pretty impressive. And straight after that cutting down there, we are back to embankments, as you can see. Again, this is like huge embankments that they would have to build. Even though it doesn't look impressive or like interesting necessarily, you know, just the amount of like actual earth that embankments sort of, because obviously got this side as well, that they had to shift, and just the manpower of that is insane. It's one of the amazing things about like Offa's Dyke, which is like the old sort of border in Wales, is that it's just an embankment, so an ancient one at that, so it doesn't look that impressive. It just kind of looks like this you're just walking on. But when you think like 1,000 years ago or whatever it was, they had to move all that earth to create it. It's pretty mad. So yeah, even here with the Industrial Revolution, obviously they had advantages of certain types of machinery and stuff, but I mean that's quite a way down that they had to just shift that amount of earth, because I'm pretty sure this, because it's such a hill, it just goes down that side, it's completely man-made. So, you know, before the 1800s, if you were in the 1700s, this would not be here at all. We would just be on flat, rolling hills. I'll tell you what though, I have yet to see a single soul across all this. Oh, look at that. That must be from the railway days. 2. I have no idea what it means. If anyone knows what that is, yeah, leave a comment, because yeah, I don't know. Is that like a carriage thing? Well, it doesn't look like there's anywhere to stop here. I have no idea. But sometimes they have like numbers, don't they, when on platforms, like if there's 2 carriages, it's like, oh, that's where to stop if you've got 2 carriages, something like that. That's my guess anyway, but this doesn't look like a platform. But that's cool. But as I was saying, yeah, I've yet to see a single soul on this path, so it looks like no one really does this. I mean, there's evidence that horses, you know, people on horses come through here, but it's pretty remote. It's not really near anywhere. The location is, you know, there's no car park or anything like that, so you best just get into Blythe Bridge and then walking. It's about 40 minutes to walk to it, to the start, but it's not that bad. So if you want some peace and quiet, this is definitely a walk that you want to go on. Tell you what though, this route, certain little sections of it is absolutely teeming with flies. There's like tons of them. I don't know whether it's just like the sheltered nature of this part of the like all this foliage is just like a breeding ground for them, but like this part you could better keep your mouth kind of closed, otherwise you're going to get a mouthful of them. And I've actually seen someone has just come down on a bike, so it's not completely abandoned and forgotten, but yeah, it's not, you're very unlikely to see people along this. I don't know if you can see there at all, but there's a church spire in the distance. I've tried to zoom in, but this GoPro is pretty rubbish with zooming in. I don't know if it shows up, but that probably is Cheadle where we're heading, so there we are. Another little old railway bridge. The slight remains of it. This is cool though, because this is obviously all original metal and everything. And yeah, a little road still, a little country road goes through here. So yeah, it's like as I expected, there is not much left. I was hoping maybe there'd be a little bit of track somewhere, but no. But there are little remnants like this along the way. And it's a pleasant country walk, so you still can't go wrong. And at the end you've got lovely Cheadle, so you can go visit the amazing church there, St Giles, nip the pub, all that good stuff. Yeah, down here we should be coming to a very small village called Huntley before we get to Cheadle, and that should be the area where maybe we see some evidence of why this line was such a hassle and such a pain to build, and how partly they just had to rebuild it and they had so many problems with it. So fingers crossed we should get into Huntley, and just a little bit past there maybe we can see something that is evidence of why that is. Another little bridge here just going across. I'm guessing this must be Huntley. Very nice houses. And just what you expect to see in the British countryside. A couple of llamas. But they're all the rage now, aren't they, llamas? People go like llama walking and stuff like that. I don't really get it, but these just look like the pets, to be honest. But we can actually see Cheadle now as well. So Cheadle's all here. Hopefully you can see the tower as well. That's St Giles, the prettiest church in Staffordshire, I claim anyway. I did a video about it. But yeah, obviously we're getting closer into Cheadle now, so we should probably start seeing some more people really on this path. So unfortunately, I don't think there is actually going to be any evidence of what made this line so tricky, because I think we're possibly currently standing on it. The landscape has changed. I think they've just sort of filled it in, but there was a tunnel that was built around this place, around this area anyway. According to the OS maps, I'm kind of on it now, where the line's supposed to stop and then it reappears a little bit later through a tunnel, and it says it's just outside Cheadle. So I think we're on it somehow. The land has been built up, but yeah, there was a difficult tunnel that they had to build here, and it passed through a ridge of sandstone, and it just constantly kept causing them trouble. I mean, there was financial problems with digging it all out and building it anyway, so the line didn't actually open fully until 1901 in like its entirety. But even as soon as it opened, problems with the tunnel almost like happened immediately. Several parts of it had to be patched up. In 1918 there was a partial collapse, which the line had to be like closed for an entire month. By 1923 problems with the tunnel became even worse, just more commonplace all the time, until they finally just decided to abandon that and just construct a completely different line, a deviation. So this whole section they had to completely, unless that's what we're on, maybe we are on the line that deviated and the tunnel is just somewhere off in the countryside, but I think it's probably filled in anyway, because yes, they had to practically rebuild part of the entire line just because this tunnel was causing them so much grief. And that was in 1932 when they started to construct the new line that skirted the high ground to the east, so maybe that's what we're currently on. And it does even say here online that the tunnel portals were bricked up and that the track from the south was lifted soon after. So yeah, there's no real evidence of it anymore. Well, that's a shame. I was hoping we would pass through it. On the maps it looks like we would perhaps see something, but it doesn't look likely. I think we're probably, after this big long section here, we'll be getting very close into just the outskirts of Cheadle now. I think there's some evidence here of, I forgot what they're called, the beams. Are they called the runners? I think they might be called runners, like the wooden beams that the track will be laid on. Still a couple of them knocking about under here. As you can see now, I'm starting to get into where all the houses are and stuff, so we're right on the outskirts of Cheadle. So this path should end any time soon really, because I think it's obviously back in the day it went into Cheadle, but now like this little suburb area has been built so it stops before then. So here it is. This is literally where the path comes to an end here because of this housing estate that was built. But there's actually an information board about Cheadle Railway, and well, I was right. So you can basically, the walk that we've done does use the 1933 diversion. So yeah, you can't. It says you can no longer see where the original tunnel and everything went through. But I'll show this here, so you could pause and have a read of this if you want to. I think you can see on the old map it says you are here, and this is the one that we've gone down, but this would have been the original line that went through the hill with the tunnel. The tunnel probably started there. There also was another platform at Teen, it says somewhere here. Yeah, it says here, single track 4 miles in length with an intermediate station at Tottenham Slow, but it was renamed Teen, And that would have been that part we saw near the start, I think, where I said, oh, it looks like it's possibly a platform here. I'm guessing that's there. So as I've been editing this video, I've and coming across some of the pictures for the tunnels that I showed earlier, I found out that it is actually possible to see some evidence of the tunnel. You have to go kind of off the path, but I have found a website that gives you kind of directions from not the Cheadle side, but the Draycott side of the tunnel. There is actually, you can sort of go up to it. It's closed off still. You can't go inside or anything, but I just wanted to sort of make it known that yes, it is possible to actually see where the tunnel still was. And maybe one day I'll do like a little video going to it, because it'd be pretty cool just to be able to see it. Make like literally just a tiny video doing that. Maybe. I thought as well I'd put some more pictures that I've found online, because there are some very good pictures of this whole place, the teen platform, which is very cool. Like, I mean, obviously I had an idea at the time when I was walking. I was like, I think this kind of looks like a place where there'd be a platform. But yeah, knowing that it actually was and everything is especially cool now. If I ever go down there again, like it's really cool. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting pictures. I love the one from like the 1800s when they're still building the tunnel, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you want to see more about this little railway line, there's plenty of little websites and stuff online where you can find the full history and just more interesting photos and anything like that. Because obviously it connects a lot with the collieries in the area as well. There's a lot of interconnecting history there. So yeah, but without further ado, I will hand you back over to myself for the outro of the video. So yeah, there we are. We've come to the end of the path. This is either the start or end point. Nice that there was a little information board about it as well. So there we are. Very nice, gentle, easy walk through some pretty countryside and some interesting history. So I'm off to the pub, get a pint, and then heading back home. So I will see you on whatever the next little adventure may be, big or small. Like and subscribe, do all the YouTubey stuff, and I'll catch you later. Bye.